I am always running into people with MS who have accomplished great things despite this disease. People like me who have made a decision that MS is just two letters with no restricting power on our lives. Most of us have chosen one sport or means to defeat MS, and one goal and one direction that challenges our MS diagnosis. It is a demanding ambition to find that one major accomplishment and make it a reality, and one dream is typically enough for someone with MS. That is until I met Wendy Booker. Wendy Booker is on an amazing journey. She is not a woman with MS who set her sight on one, but she is a powerhouse whose goals are limitless. Not only is she tackling marathons, mountains, and ice, she's doing it at the age of 59. Wendy was never an athlete, but over the past decade she has run 11 marathons, climbed 6 of the 7 summits, attempted Everest twice, mushed to the North Pole and skied to the South Pole, setting records and breaking through barriers all the way. Always on the lookout for her next great adventure, Wendy has recently been training with a team of sled dogs in Alaska with plans to race in the Iditarod, the last great race. Closer to home, she will be running her 12th marathon, the Boston Marathon, on April 21st. Whatever challenges Wendy undertakes, the mission is always to educate, motivate, and encourage anyone facing an obstacle in life to push through and climb on. According to Wendy, the view from the top is breathtaking. David Lyons: when and how were you diagnosed with MS? Wendy Booker: I was diagnosed with MS in 1998. I had strange symptoms in my late 20s. Of course, when you are young you think you are invincible, so I ignored most of them. I suffered paralysis in my arms and hands in my late 20s, which resulted in a course of steroid treatment, but no one ever ran any medical tests. I lost the vision in my left eye a few years later than my right eye. Funny, but I would see a doctor, but no one ever went for any type of diagnosis. I was treated for the event and sent on my way. Not until 1998, when I was stepping out of a display window where I worked as a designer, did my left leg totally give out and I fell for no apparent reason. This time my primary care physician followed through and immediately sent me for all those wonderful tests: spinal taps, MRI, and evoked response test. In June of 1998, in combination of all the previous unexplained neurological events and medical tests, I had a very clear case of multiple sclerosis. DL, why did you decide to become, as your Twitter profile states, a mountain climber, marathon runner, polar explorer, and musher with MS? WB, after the initial diagnosis I was immobilized, as we all are, with fear. Fear of the unknown. Fear of disease progression, disability, being a burden in all aspects to my family. We all know that deep dark place we go to when we are first diagnosed with a chronic illness. These reactions aren't exclusive to Ms. We all mentally go to the very worst place in our mind. We know someone with MS who isn't doing well, and that person is our first point of reference to this illness. It was at that moment that I absolutely knew I had to do something for myself, but more for the MS community as a whole. I immediately set out to change the perception of what MS looks like. I decided to do something very out of character at the time and run the Boston Marathon. Of course I was told I couldn't or I shouldn't. That my MS would get worse. That I shouldn't get overheated and suffer a significant setback. All this is very possible, but I didn't want to watch life. I wanted to be an active participant. And why shouldn't we all have this choice? So I pushed back at my diagnosis. I wasn't a runner. Heck, I wasn't even an athlete. I just knew that in order to change the perception of what MS looks like and defy expectations, I had to do something that would bring attention to the illness and everything that is possible. I started with the marathon, and I'm proud to say that today, in 2014, so many people with MS are running marathons, triathlons, and everything physical out there. Isn't it awesome? Shortly after my first marathon, I was offered the opportunity to climb Denali, Mt. McKinley, in Alaska. I came to the mountains the very same way I had approached the marathon 2 years earlier. Why not see how far I can continue to push back at this disease? I was unprepared for what my life would soon be like. Climbing technical peaks was an entirely new endeavor. I had to quit my job and devote myself 100% to learning how to be a technical climber. I had to learn every aspect of the sport and survival in some of the harshest environments on the globe. I had to totally change my life, but I knew if I was going to change perceptions of what a disease looks like, it was going to come with enormous sacrifice. I am still at it 16 years later, pushing back at my diagnosis and encouraging others to come climb with me, whatever their mountain might be. I have made it my life's mission to encourage others to find their mountain and go for it. As long as I am able, I will continue to reach for the stars and dedicate every step to those living with MS and challenge them to do the same. DL, how difficult is it to train for all these activities with MS? WB, mountain climbing, polar exploration, and training for the Iditarod are not the most normal events one could train for. That's why I choose to pursue them, because they are unusual. But training for anything with MS can be different. I won't say difficult, because I think training for anything can be difficult. You know the expression, if it was easy, everyone would do it. Well, that can be just about anything you challenge yourself with, and that's what makes it all the more interesting. My mission is to challenge